I'm Charlotte Bray and I'm a composer, and I've written a new song cycle called Crossing Faultlines, and we commissioned new poetry by Nicki Jackowska for the cycle. It was fantastic to be invited to be part of this project, and in the very early stages it became really evident that there isn't much poetry written about women's lives, working women's lives. So for me, that in itself is really important to tackle. I read volumes of poetry by pretty much every woman poet that I could find, and also some male poets who have perhaps written about women as well. But still, like I said, there was not a lot to choose from. I didn't find anything that had the right kind of tone. It was so wonderful that Nicki did agree to write the 3 poems. So the first poem is called In the Margins. The second is Like a Drum, which, like I said, is short and snappy and about discrimination. And the third, which is about ambition, is called And Now Her Song. And I feel like by the third, it really has grown to a place where it is really singing. And I think it was wonderful and worth mentioning that Nicki threaded into the text, "She will risk, dream, sing," which is, of course, the name of your whole project. And I think that's really special that has become part of the poetry as well.
She will risk, dream, sing, where angels fear to.
For the creatives behind it, because it was very clear that it shouldn't be, although we would like to talk about discrimination and perhaps Me Too and highlight these kind of issues, we don't want it to be like an angry piece. We want it to celebrate all the richness, as you said, I think the richness of being a woman. So it was tricky to find the right poems, which is why then we decided to commission them from Nicki, specifically for the cycle. And I think that was an incredible thing to do, because I think it's just added such another level of richness to the project in that collaboration.
Like a drumbeat, underground, calling the tribe. The new girl spins, bears and strips in the office heat. She'll do. But who will stop her flight? Dare the first bite? It was to do with being, in a way, invited and directed into precisely the role of women and women's hidden voices. So I was very happy to focus on that for this assignment, and I absolutely did. I mean, but I also am not one of those people who bends over backwards to privilege women's voices above anybody else's voices. So it's a very, very strong motivation during the course of this commission. But I am, in a broader perspective, interested in anybody's voices. Dress full of roses, onto the catwalk, clicking her heels through croaks, grunts, creaks, the whispered jokes. Who will be first to slake his thirst? Stockroom, tea room, or where they keep the broom?
To be able to approach issues, about men, about women, about race, about politics, and for me that is very important. So this being a massive gap in the song repertoire makes it vitally important that we tackle it.
Fat and fatuous, he sniffs his way through roses, roses. They burn and scatter. No one knows what is the matter when her typing slows, or how that bruise branding her neck glows rosy red.
Having worked with Nicki previously on a song cycle for mezzo-soprano and ensemble, I knew the depth of her poetry, and I thought that would really be bring something wonderful to this project. I also think because Nicki's from an older generation, it also adds like a massive depth in talking about these issues. Because of course, when she was young, it would have been quite different. And I think that breadth of knowledge and insight that she has really, like I said, adds a lot to the project. Her poetry is so vivid and so lyrical in a way. And I think having asked her to write these particular poems for it, she calls them songs rather than poems. Yeah. I think that's wonderful that it really for her is a slightly different way of writing poetry.
It's important to say that I wrote these pieces as songs. So it's a very different process than writing poems, because I've kind of got a form of music in my head when I'm doing it. And the other thing to say that, strangely enough, since the lockdown, I've started working in a new way. And I began it with my monologue String, which is available on YouTube and Vimeo. But it was an entirely new voice and an entirely new structural method. Plus the fact that always I've got certainly two dimensions on the go at once. One is the fragmented scenario, which always gives a tremendous amount of guts to a piece. You know, if you bring in little details here and there, you know, plus you keep in mind the overall narrative line. And I can say that absolutely with confidence about writing these three songs. The introduction of potentially the kind of jobs that women do, maybe a High Court judge. And so I was introducing Lady Gale with her spider brooch, and that's a very sort of perky piece of the song. I wore a massive great spider brooch at the preview that we did in London quite recently.
For me, there's something very kind of visceral about it, because it's happening now in the time we're living. Anytime I've spoken about the cycle to anyone, I feel so committed to it, because, like I said, it's just so important that this is sung about. It has to be there in the repertoire.